All right, I am doing this video on the 1998 Mercedes-Benz C43 AMG because this car is actually going to be sold on Cars and Bids at no reserve in a few weeks. I wanted to make sure I did a video on the car so everybody could see how it drives and rides and runs. This car, as you know, I bought from an estate. The original owner lived in town about 1.5 miles from me, and his family needed to get rid of it. I was able to buy it. So I've done a little work on the car, which you've seen in other videos. The car is actually in really, really good shape. I got every receipt back to new. It was purchased brand new in Fresno. The gentleman drove it obviously a lot, but it was a wonderful car. And I also had the headliner fixed. There is the extra coil pack. But I had the headliner fixed, which was really the only thing in the interior besides just a nice clean. You can see that it's all brand new. Looks wonderful. That's all done, but the interior is great. There's a little wear on this bolster, but I mean, that's at 179,000 miles. These seats look wonderful considering how many miles are on the car. I mean, I think this guy maybe drove it by himself everywhere he went. But yeah, so we're gonna take a little drive in the car. I'm gonna show you how it rides and drives, and then we will come back, we'll put it on the lift and show you guys a little bit more. These headrests actually go back down from a switch up there, which is kind of cool. You can put them up and then you can let them down by the switch. So more to come. I just wanted to give you guys a little screenshot here before we get out of the... All right, cold start. I don't know if you can see that minus 486. That's something to do with the oil change. You can reset it. You just with the key on, you hit a couple buttons and then it goes back to 0. I just haven't done that. AC heat up here. Got the radio right here. Everything works fine. Get my phone out of here. That's the ashtray. Looks like it's never been used. That's the cup holder. This thing's kind of cool. It kind of comes out and articulates. But I will put that back. These are the controls for the seats. This is what does the trunk. Where's the button for the headrests? Oh, right here. Here's the button for the headrests. And then seat warmers, which on a day like this, I will gladly use. Cars are just so cool, you know, being a Porsche fan and some other brands. I just wasn't terribly familiar with the Mercedes, and when this came available, I started looking and realized kind of how just unique it was. So it's been fun having it. Oh, that seat warmer's already working. Let me turn the heat on here, auto. One thing that you'll see when we lift the car up a little later is I talked in the first video when I mean almost when I started my YouTube channel, and when I first bought this car, we did the video. There was a big crack or a little crack in the mid like resonator area. There's rear mufflers and then obviously there's catalytic converters, but there's this middle resonator. And online, almost everybody said if you remove the resonator, there's really no more noise in the car, but it gives a little throatier sound out back. So the same person that built the exhaust for my Lamborghini, I took this car to them and they built a Y pipe out of stainless underneath. And so when we put the car on the lift, you'll actually be able to see that. It turned out great. and it gives it a little more tone in the rear of the car, but it just lets the V8, I think, breathe a little better. But you can't hear it in here, I mean, in my opinion, any difference than it was before. I'd imagine it's very quiet in the camera, but I mean, it's super quiet in here. I mean, we're going 45 right now, but that heated seat works fast. It's 51 degrees out here, so not terribly cold. It's a Sunday morning, almost 10 a.m. Radio, I'll show you that. Gotta be careful. Can't play any music because I don't have the rights to. Brakes are really strong. In the video, I'll show you the pads. In the receipts, I think I know when they were replaced last, but it wasn't too many miles ago. As mentioned, the previous owner of this car was actually ill. You know, he owned the car since brand new. He was an older gentleman, but he was ill for like the last 4 or 5 years of the car. So the car sat for 5 years and really didn't get driven, but he never wanted to sell it. You know, he loved this car. It was a big piece of him, and an important car that he really enjoyed driving and loved. And as you can tell by all the history he kept on it and how many miles were on the car, I mean, he really had a lot of fun with this thing. But track's really nice. I'm going 50 miles an hour, or excuse me, 60 miles an hour right now. Very smooth. AC works perfect. When I bought the car in the summertime, I actually had to have it recharged just because it sat for so long. I think it just kind of seeped out. But I used the car pretty regularly, and it worked fine. Like, it never didn't work after that. You know, it wasn't like I was driving the car hundreds and hundreds of miles, but every time I got in it and drove it for short distances, it was really cold, and the climate control worked great. And I mean, it was, you know, 100 degrees outside or whatever, so. That's 80. You can see my hand on the wheel. It's super, super smooth. No vibrations. Got a straightaway here. The car just runs really, really well. I know I keep saying that, but you know, typically with a car with 179,000 miles on it, you're kind of like, well, what's the history been like? How was it cared for? Well, guess what? This car didn't have 18 owners. It had one. And he was very adamant about making sure that things were done when they needed to be done. So in all the paperwork, you can constantly see tire changes, oil changes, belt changes, spark plug changes. Every time he needed to do something, he did it in a recommended interval, and it was always done professionally. It's nice when you have that piece of history. You know, a lot of cars these days, if it gets sold to a dealer, they throw that paperwork away. You never have it. and they'll tell you, oh, it's always regularly serviced, but you just don't know. You're taking their word for it. There's no, you know, history of it other than their word, which they probably bought it at an auction and just telling you that it's been cared for. I also mentioned that I changed one of the coil packs because it had a misfire. Every other one has been working fine. I mean, you saw we changed the spark plugs and spark plug wires and all of those things. But reading online, these coil packs are not something that you really change just every so often with mileage. Apparently they're very robust. I mean, they manage 2 spark plugs for each coil pack. There's 16 spark plugs in this car. And people just said, hey, buy an extra one, and if it gives you a misfire, you have an extra and spare and you replace it. But replacing all of them, they said, is pointless because these coil packs might last another 20 or 30,000 miles. You just don't know. Give it a little juice now that it's warmed up. She scoots. It's only a 2-year car, 1998, 1999. 4.3 liter V8, 309 horsepower roughly. If you guys have any questions on this video during the auction, just type them in. I'll try to be as involved as I can be. If there's anything else that you need to see that you don't see on either one of my first 2 videos when I got the car, or on this video to sell the car, but I just, you know, the car runs wonderfully, and when you look underneath it, in the other videos you can see too, but I've been driving the car too, and there's no more leaks after replacing the valve cover gaskets, which, you know, come to find out was 99% of the cause of all that gunk that was on there over the years. Now that all that gunk's gone, there's no new leakage, and you'll see that on the video. So I really appreciate you going for a ride with me. Hopefully this is really helpful, and you can see how just nice the car is. And in the next segment, you'll see it up on the lift, and we'll be going through it. All right, thank you. I wanted to do just a quick video while this is outside, just so you can see how clean this is. Just got back from the drive. We're about ready to pull it in the garage and put it on the lift. But I figured this would be a help. You know, in the garage earlier when I showed you, here, I'll pull this up. It's just so hard to see how nice it is in here. There's that door there. There's driver's door. There's the mat. Bolsters on this side. You saw the bolster the other way. There's the mileage and the dash. All the dash and wood is in great shape. I mean, there's not one crack. Obviously, this car was garaged its whole life. The passenger seat looks like it's almost never been sat in. There's the sunroof open. You can see the headliner that was redone. Let me lift the hood and lift the trunk. Here's the trunk. Pull this little guy out. There's the CD changer here, which I have some discs in, getting the old school out here in this car. Hang that guy up. There's the jack. Everything in here is super clean. This is the spare tire battery back here. That's the secondary fuse panel there. And then side of the car, there's a little scuff on the door right here. I don't know if that will come off or not. It doesn't look like through the paint. Got the hood up. Open this side for you to see. Back door. Give you a good view of everything. Awesome. Let's crack the hood. there she is. You can see, I believe this might be the new coil pack that we put in before, and then I got a spare one as mentioned. Here's the beauty cover. You can see from our valve cover gasket change, everything is completely dry and looks great. It's got the factory sealant around here in that second section, and then all of that is dry down there with all the new spark plug wears. So, all right, we'll bring this in the garage and give you an update. All right, so we just got back from the drive. I'm going to take this beauty cover off right here. It's just 4 8mm bolts. I just want to get this off so you can see the whole bottom of the motor. And then I'll show you the exhaust, and we'll walk around and take a look at all the other items, just to show you how clean it is underneath. All right, let's have a look at this guy. I got the light too, I think. So you can see in there, if you remember in the first video that I took of this car, that was caked full of disgustingness that had been from years and years of the valve cover gasket leaking. Now that it's dry, and as I mentioned, I've been driving it for a while, you can see how clean it is up in there. This right here is just the bottom of the AC compressor. There's the new motor mounts that I put in my other video. You can see how clean it is up there. See how dry it is here. Remember last time I cleaned that off? Now it's still dry after driving it. The exhaust right here. Transmission pan, all dry. Again, just caking from before. You can see how dry it is up in there. Back side of the oil pan gasket, bottom of the frame. I mean, you can tell these cars in California are so clean. Oh, I did mention this steering arm boot I have not fixed. Both of them, I believe, yeah, both of them are like cracked. Obviously there's no play in them at all, which you saw in the video, but it's something that obviously should be addressed. I just honestly haven't had time. Transmission mount right there. You can see the new one that I put in. And then back to the bling. Here's the, this is what replaced the mid muffler or the mid resonator. I mean, you can see it's a little overkill for this car. This guy does amazing work, typically for Lamborghinis and all custom vehicles, but he was nice enough to do mine. Built Industries that I mentioned in the previous one, and I tagged on the video of my Mercy. Just some cobwebs here. You can see how clean it is back here. All the drive shafts look good. A little caking there, but dry, not active seal, just years of grime but nothing actively leaking right now. There's the shocks. Nothing dripping back here. There's the fuel pump in there. Gas tank. So hopefully this gives you a much better idea of how clean this car actually is. Not that, you know, nobody didn't think that already. I mean, the car's been very well cared for. But you never know. I mean, these cars without a story or without a history or somebody actually going through and taking the time to show you everything, so you know as a bidder, especially on these bidding websites, not knowing is, you know, it's a gamble. So I'd rather show you everything so you know exactly what you're buying and what you're getting, which I think is a really nice car. So anyways, thanks for watching and happy bidding. I'll answer any questions I can during the auction, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch.